Well, the simple answer is yes. The a bit longer story would be that I'm Ukrainian. I was born in the center of Ukraine in a little village, and I grew up in Donetsk, which is in the east, the biggest industrial city, so still the larger part of my life was there. Then I moved to Kiev, and then I moved to Thessaloniki, and then I moved to Athens, and then I moved to Brussels, and now I'm in Kiev. So yes, I'm European and I'm Ukrainian. Well, the very first one was still during the Orange Revolution when I was still a kid. But I do remember that because I used to be interested in politics somehow, reading, watching, participating actually, because we were going from Donetsk to Kiev, which was a bit weird for Donetsk times back then, but still, that's what I remember. We were like supporting the integrity, we were supporting the right of people to have free elections and to have their voice heard basically by the state. And then next period, the next moment, European moment in my life was during Maidan Revolution of Dignity, which started in 2013 and then continued to 2014. You know, of course, about those events. It's like where our road to association agreement with EU kind of was under threat initially, but then it led to some other events. And going back to that European moment, I would say that yes, that was the second and I guess the most important up until now, in order to identify, in order to say, yes, I'm European. I want my country to develop in this way. I want my country to follow these values. I want my people to live according to these standards of life. So mostly people say Brexit, but I would say it as well, because I do acknowledge the importance of this moment and the negative somehow consequences of this moment for Europe and for the UK, I believe as well. But I would stop on the answer which says that this moment is annexation of Crimea and start of the war in Donbass. Why this is a negative moment in the European history? I think because it's a breakage of the rules of international laws. It's a breakage of human rights and basic security, which happens still, which is happening now in the middle of Europe. Basically, it's not the just beautifully made sentence to say, oh, it's in the middle of Europe and everyone should pay attention to it. No, it's just a sad reality. And Ukraine still tries to have this point in the European agenda, so it's difficult. But that's, in my opinion, was one of the most difficult moments. And the painful part here is that it's not only a moment, it's an ongoing period. In Ukrainian context, again, still because I'm more involved in the Ukrainian context, I would say it's a visa-free regime that we got. I am a keen traveler myself. I traveled even before visa-free regime. I traveled a lot and managed to visit like around 20 European countries. So, I mean, I didn't have really difficulty to travel, so I do remember those queues we have before the embassies and time you needed to wait before you can just go and see the city or country you want. But now when I'm thinking of this opportunity for the other people, starting from my parents who are elderly people, going to some people who are living in their little villages or towns or cities, and perhaps for them that was a nice opportunity to start thinking about that, to stop thinking that it's impossible. And why it's important? It's because people just make their opinion like this. They come and they see for themselves, right? They do not need media to form their opinion. They do not need someone's stories to form their opinions. They just go and see, and then they can compare and decide. That's why I think it's a basic thing. It's just travel, right? I mean, it's nothing special, but then subsequently it can be very important. Wow, a lot. My very first country abroad when I was a child was Spain. I still remember it was just some months or days after they got Euro. I mean, I was a child back then, but still I remember something, and that it was weird, but for me everything was beautiful there, so I remember it. It's a very bright memory. Then I traveled, and of course this freedom of movement, because when you go somewhere, for me it's amazing. You can be in Belgium and you just can walk by the sea and appear in France, right? Or you can be in Italy and then go to Switzerland. I mean, Schengen area. I mean, this is a benefit of what we have, and I enjoy it a lot, and I think it's important benefits that we got from the EU and from the Schengen rules that apply. Next one is, of course, my studies, because I was a student in University of Macedonia in Thessaloniki. I am a student still. I have to graduate. In my group, we were almost everyone was coming from different country. Of course, we had some part of Greeks who were locals to the city, to the country, but then we had people coming from all over Europe and also Africa and America. So, you know, we were international, and the spirit of multiculturality, that's what I really love. And you see, I can talk a lot about that, but I will mention just two more things which still are small, but I consider them as important. Something that I love about European Union, and especially about this Brussels atmosphere, is a situation which you got every day when you cross Schumann. And you stand there, wait until the light would change, and until you wait, I mean, during this period, you hear around you so many languages. You hear around you you see so many different people. I really enjoy this. I enjoy that moment, that period, that time, and I hope to experience it once again. Maybe coming already as a citizen of a member state of Ukraine in the future, but we'll see, of course. And the very last one, it was a moment when I was a trainee in the European Union, and then we were all inaugurated in the European Parliament hemicycle. And there was a moment when they are saying, please, this country, stand up so that we could, applause and welcome you to Brussels, welcome you to the European institutions and to all this environment. And then in the very end, they told, people coming from outside of the EU, please, we welcome you. And then you stand up, you have to stand up, and you see you're less than 10 people. And you feel, of course, you feel proud, and of course you feel not really proud for yourself, you feel proud to be united with all these people, because that's your basically part. It's European, you're European, we are Europeans. Of course, there were people coming from overseas, but I mean, there was two or three, but then most of us are coming from Western Balkans, from Eastern Partnership countries, and we are Europeans, that's our family, so it's good to be back. Of course, when we hear this 2030, immediately what comes to our minds is these sustainable development goals, at least that works in my case. So, of course, I would think in that direction. Recently, for some research, was checking the progress that the EU has made so far, and I would say that the picture is quite bright, actually. Though there are some goals that I want to highlight, especially, of course, we would all talk about climate change and the actions needed to overcome the negative consequences of this. So the climate neutrality then. Another thing which makes me feel concerned is gender equality. I'm a young professional, I'm a woman, I want this gender balance to be achieved, and I see that European Union in particular progressed quite well in this regard, but still there are actions needed. And I believe that by 2030, with the speed that things are developing, I guess at least we would achieve great progress on that matter. Not telling it would be 100%, but at least the majority of the goals, sub-goals would be done. And the last one, and I think it's important to mention, though again, particularly European Union is doing quite well in this regard, but in the wider Europe, still there is a problem of youth unemployment. And here I want to say that it's not only a problem of just existence or non-existence of particular places of employment. That's a question of structuring the economy according to the speed of developments that we have, right? We have digital economy, right? We have to provide young people with the skills needed to succeed in this environment. So that's a question of right education, right skills, and then ability to have decent job.